And I married someone that was, I always tell guys when they meet a woman.
For decades, Jay Leno has been the face of late-night television, a man whose humor, charm, and relentless work ethic made him one of America's most beloved entertainers. But behind the laughter and the bright studio lights, there was a love story that few knew. A romance that Jay has quietly carried in his heart for more than 50 years. In a recent, emotional confession at the age of 75, Jay revealed the truth that fans and gossip columns had speculated about for decades. The woman he referred to as the love of my life wasn't just a fleeting crush or a Hollywood fling. She was someone who profoundly shaped his life, his choices, and the man he became both on and off camera. For years, rumors swirled, stories circulated, and late-night hosts teased the mystery. But Jay, always private about his personal life, never confirmed or denied the whispers. Now, in an intimate revelation, he has finally broken his silence, sharing details that have stunned fans, Hollywood insiders, and everyone who thought they knew the man behind the iconic smile. This is more than a confession. It's the untold story of love, regret, and devotion that has quietly accompanied one of television's greatest stars throughout his life. A story that proves even the funniest, most public personas have hidden chapters of the heart. Chapters filled with longing, choices, and emotions that shaped the decades. Jay Leno's revelation is finally here. The question now is simple. Who was the love he never forgot, and what kept their story a secret for so long? Long before Jay Leno became the king of late-night television, he was just a young man with a dream, a sharp wit, and a relentless determination to make people laugh. But even amid the ambition, the lights, and the comedy clubs, there was a woman who quietly captured his heart. Someone who would leave an imprint on his life that lasted decades. Jay has always been known for his charisma, his humor, and his larger-than-life personality. But behind that public persona was a man capable of profound love, of deep, unspoken emotions that shaped his choices and his life. The woman he calls the love of my life wasn't just a fleeting romance. She was someone whose presence influenced the person Jay became, both professionally and personally. In interviews, Jay has always been private about his early relationships. Fans knew him as the funny, charming comedian, never fully aware that behind the jokes and late-night antics was a man navigating the complexities of love, desire, and devotion. This woman, however, was different from anyone he had ever met. She challenged him, inspired him, and saw him not just as a rising star, but as a person, someone with fears, dreams, and vulnerabilities. Their connection was instant, electric, and unspoken in its intensity. Whether it was a shared laugh in a quiet moment, a glance across a crowded room, or a conversation that stretched late into the night, Jay felt something deeper than he had ever experienced before. She became the muse to his humor, the calm behind his ambition, and the warmth that grounded him in a world that often demanded performance and perfection. Yet, like many early romances, timing and circumstances played a cruel role. Jay's career was just beginning to take off. He spent countless nights traveling, performing, and chasing opportunities in comedy clubs across the country. The demands of ambition created distance, and the intensity of Hollywood's emerging spotlight added pressure neither of them could fully navigate. Despite the challenges, Jay never forgot her. Her laughter, her insight, and her unwavering belief in him became part of his inner life. A quiet, constant companion, even as he became one of television's most recognizable faces. Every joke, every monologue, and every late-night audience carried echoes of the love he had left behind, and the memories that had shaped him long before the world knew his name. Even decades later, Jay recalls her with reverence. She was not just a chapter in his youth, but a defining influence, a person whose absence left both a void and a guiding force in his life. She taught me about love, patience, and the power of understanding, he said. Even if life took us in different directions, I never stopped feeling that connection. As Jay reflects on the woman who stole his heart, it's clear that this was no ordinary romance. It was a love that endured silently, shaping the man who would later make millions laugh, and leaving a mark that time, fame, and life itself could never erase. As Jay Leno's career began to rise, the challenges of balancing love and ambition became unavoidable. The woman he called the love of my life was there during the formative years, a witness to his dreams, struggles, and relentless pursuit of success. But as opportunities came knocking, television appearances, comedy club contracts, and eventually late-night offers, the pressures of ambition began to shape decisions that would alter the course of their relationship forever. Jay's love story was never about a lack of devotion. It was about timing and circumstance. Every choice he made to pursue his career had consequences for the woman he cared about most. Nights away from home, travel for performances, and the constant grind of a rising career created distance, not in affection, but in presence. She understood his drive, yet even the strongest hearts have limits. According to friends close to Jay, the relationship faced a critical turning point when he received his first significant late-night offer. The opportunity promised fame, recognition, and a platform that could cement his career forever. But accepting it meant longer hours, more travel, and being away from the woman who had always been his anchor. It was a decision Jay knew would change everything, and it did. Choosing career over love was not easy. He agonized over it, knowing that his life's trajectory was about to diverge from hers. The two shared an emotional farewell, a moment filled with unspoken regret, tears, and promises that would later become bittersweet memories. "I had to follow my path," Jay admitted years later. "I didn't want to hurt her, but I couldn't stop the momentum of my life." As Jay's fame skyrocketed, the world only saw the rise of a late-night icon. What they didn't see were the sacrifices made behind the scenes, the personal losses that came with success. He became the household name we all know, yet the love he left behind remained etched in his heart, a constant reminder of what he had gained and what he had lost. Friends close to him recall that even during his most triumphant moments, signing contracts, hosting iconic shows, and meeting celebrities, Jay would occasionally reflect on the past. That lost love wasn't a shadow, but a memory that reminded him of vulnerability, authenticity, and the choices that shaped who he became. It wasn't resentment or regret that defined this chapter of Jay's life. It was understanding. He realized that ambition required sacrifice, but it also taught him the depth of his feelings. The woman he lost never faded from his thoughts. Every success, every monologue, every audience applause carried a quiet acknowledgement of her impact, her influence, and the heartbreak that came with following his dreams. Even decades later, at 75, Jay's confession reveals the enduring power of that love. He doesn't speak with bitterness, only reverence. "She was the love of my life," he admits. A simple statement, yet loaded with decades of emotion, memory, and longing. It's a truth that Hollywood and fans alike had speculated about for years, finally confirmed by the man who lived it, a reminder that love and ambition often collide, leaving lasting impressions on a lifetime. For decades, fans, gossip columns, and Hollywood insiders speculated about Jay Leno's personal life. Who had captured the heart of this late-night legend before fame made him a household name? Rumors swirled about relationships, flings, and missed connections. But Jay remained mostly silent, guarding a private chapter of his life that few could understand. Then, at the age of 75, Jay broke his silence. In an emotional and heartfelt revelation, he spoke about the woman he had quietly called the love of my life. The confession stunned audiences, because for years the world had only seen the comedian, the late-night host, the man with a constant smile and sharp wit. Few knew that beneath the humor lay a story of enduring love, sacrifice, and decades of longing. Jay's revelation wasn't just a casual remark. It was a careful, reflective sharing of a part of his heart that had remained hidden for more than half a century. He spoke of her influence on his life, her unwavering support during the earliest and most vulnerable days of his career, and the profound connection they shared before circumstances forced them apart. The confession sent shockwaves through social media, late-night commentary, and entertainment news. Fans were fascinated, speculating about who she could be, how their story ended, and why Jay had never spoken publicly before. Hollywood insiders nodded knowingly. They had always sensed that this chapter of his life was special, a private devotion overshadowed by the demands of fame. What made Jay's story so compelling wasn't just the love he described. It was the honesty about what was lost. Unlike celebrity romances that often play out in the public eye, this one was quiet, private, and deeply personal. He hadn't sought fame, attention, or validation. He simply wanted to honor the love that shaped him, even if it didn't last. In interviews, Jay reflected on how that love taught him lessons he carried into every relationship, every career choice, and every stage performance. He realized that even if the timing had been wrong, the experience shaped the man millions admired. "I never forgot her," Jay admitted. "Even with everything else in my life, she's always been a part of who I am." The confession also resonated with fans on a deeply human level. Here was a man celebrated for laughter and entertainment, finally revealing vulnerability, heartache, and devotion. It reminded the world that behind every public figure lies a private life full of complexity, longing, and emotion that can remain hidden, sometimes for decades. As the world absorbed Jay Leno's revelation, one truth became clear. This wasn't just a celebrity confession. It was a reminder that love can endure silently, influence our choices, and leave an indelible mark, even if life takes us in separate directions. And for Jay Leno, sharing this story was not only cathartic, it was a tribute to a woman who had shaped him, to a love that had stood the test of time, and to the enduring power of a connection that, for him, would never fade. At 75, Jay Leno has lived a life many would envy, a legendary career, iconic television moments, and the admiration of millions. Yet behind the success and laughter lies a story that has quietly defined him, the love he never forgot. The woman he calls the love of my life was more than a chapter in his past. She was a guiding force, an emotional anchor, and a memory that shaped his every choice. Even as Jay achieved fame and wealth, the echoes of that early love never faded. It wasn't a shadow of regret, but a gentle, persistent reminder of what truly mattered. Friends close to him have said that despite decades passing, he often spoke of her with reverence, not bitterness, not longing, but with the quiet understanding of someone who had experienced something extraordinary and rare. What made this love so profound was its timing. It arrived when Jay was young, ambitious, and unsure of the path ahead. She saw potential in him before the world did. She believed in his dreams, supported his struggles, and gave him the emotional grounding to pursue the career that would make him one of the most recognizable faces in American television. Even when life pulled them in separate directions, the lessons she imparted remained. The confession, decades later, was as much about honoring her as it was about sharing his story. Jay wanted the world to understand that not all love stories end in marriage or permanence. Some leave a lasting imprint in more subtle, powerful ways. They shape character, inspire decisions, and teach resilience. His honesty about this love revealed a side of Jay that fans rarely saw: vulnerability, emotion, and the capacity to cherish a connection that was never meant to be fully realized. In sharing his story, Jay also reminded the world of the human side of fame. The public often sees celebrities through the lens of performance, humor, and success. But behind the scenes are lives filled with joy, pain, heartbreak, and longing, just like anyone else. Jay's confession underscored that even the most successful, confident individuals carry memories that quietly influence them, memories that endure long after the headlines fade. For Jay Leno, this love never faded. It became a compass, guiding him in relationships, decisions, and personal growth. Even in his marriages and partnerships later in life, the lessons learned from this early love informed how he treated others, with empathy, respect, and understanding. It was a love that taught him about commitment, vulnerability, and the power of cherishing what matters most. And now, as he shares this story at 75, Jay leaves a message for all of us, that true love isn't measured by permanence alone, but by its impact on our hearts and lives. Some loves are fleeting in presence, but eternal in influence. Jay Leno's confession reminds us that even amidst laughter, fame, and the chaos of life, the love we hold on to quietly shapes us forever. And for him, the woman he calls the love of my life will always remain a cherished, unforgettable part of his story, a testament to the enduring power of the heart.